and welcome to Geek History Lesson. I'm Ashley Victoria Robinson.
And I'm Jason Sharp Object That Can Kill You Inman. Welcome to your Mind University, where we take one character, construct, or something else from pop culture and tell you all about it in less than an hour on this podcast we call Geek History Lesson, which we also nickname the Mind University. That's right, that's our fancy term for it. And today we are digging deep into the land of the rising sun. Our lovely lady from Japan. Who, Ashley?
Katana!
Yay, Katana. And if you don't know who Katana is, she, of course, is a DC Comics superheroine. You call her a superheroine, right?
Sometimes.
Or she's an anti-hero?
Sometimes.
Okay, but she's going to be featured in the upcoming Suicide Squad movie. She's also a big exclusive toy through DC Superhero Girls, and she's a character in that. We've seen her all kinds of places, even on Arrow. So we thought it'd be great, and she'd be a great lady to break down on this Geek History Lesson. So let's hop right into the first section, the 10-cent origin, where we tell you everything you need to know about this character in case you ever go to a Japanese cocktail party and they're like, do you know of our native daughter Katana? And you're like, oh yes I do, because I listened to Geek History Lesson and their 10-cent origin, which starts now.
Yes, so Katana is of course a DC Comics character. She is Tetsu Yamashiro, aka Katana. Her first appearance was in The Brave and the Bold number 200 in July of 1983, and she was created by Jim Aparo and Mike W. Barr.
Nice.
She is the current wielder of the Soul Tinker Sword, although that does change a little bit throughout her history.
Okay, got it.
We'll talk about that.
Uh-huh.
Her team affiliations have included the Outsiders, the Birds of Prey, the Justice League, and the Suicide Squad. And her abilities include being a superb martial artist, a trained samurai warrior, and with the Soul Taker Sword, she has the ability to capture the soul of every being killed with it and communicate with that soul.
Interesting.
Yes.
So she can learn all your secrets if she kills you.
She can. She's a little Scarlet Witchy with a sword.
Okay.
So she knows all your deep, dark secrets. She knows what you bought on eBay last night.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's not good, Katana.
It gets dark.
Okay, but only if she kills me.
Only if she kills you.
All right, understood.
So you'll probably be fine.
Yeah, I'll be okay. So next we're going to learn the Meet Cute section of our podcast, where we're going to tell where we first encountered this character in pop culture or in our lives. We like to get a little personal here. Mm-hmm. Ashley.
Yes.
Where did you meet cute Katana?
I have no idea where I first met cute Katana.
I have no idea.
Because I don't know if I knew who Katana was before the New 52, before she had a solo series in the New 52, because I've not read a ton of the Outsiders in the past, and that's mostly where her stories are contained. I remember when that series launched, it was really cool, but where I started to kind of learn about the character and more of the details of her personality was in the Beware the Batman animated series, because she's kind of the Robin of that show.
Yeah, she's the main character.
And she has a really great role in that. We'll talk more about that later. So that was most of my exposure to Katana before the Superhero Girls line launched, and then before the research that I did for this lesson. So how about you? Where did you first meet Tetsu Yamashiro?
Well, post Infinite Crisis by a couple of years, they had this title called The Outsiders, which was led by Nightwing. And The Outsiders is this DC team that's kind of around. We'll talk about it more, I assume. And Batman basically got angry. I remember I picked up this issue. I read Batman and The Outsiders #1. And Batman's like, yo, The Outsiders is my team from the 80s, Nightwing. You best be stepping off. And Catwoman is in that team, which really intrigued me. And also Katana. And she's a crazy, red and yellow costume in it. She doesn't have her, slick black costume, which I really like now, but she had the crazy, they love to put her in red and yellow.
She's had some crazy costumes.
Yeah. Well, like most DC heroes, I would say that they've all had crazy costumes. But that's the first time that I remember being cognizant of who Katana was. I'm certain that before that point, I had read a book with Katana in it.
She is an ancillary character in a lot of crossover titles and big events.
She's always supporting, and sometimes what I like to call deep supporting. Yeah. And by that I mean she's that character that shows up in giant crowd scenes, and you're just like, who's that chick with Japan on her face? And of course I'm speaking to her giant face mask, which has the Japanese flag on it.
Yeah, which is the rising sun, the red sun.
Yes, the rising sun. Just in case anybody out there didn't know what we were talking about. I mean, we're not a visual podcast, so there you go.
There you go.
So, all right, let's move on into the History 101, the main meat of the lesson, where Professor Ashley will kneel in prayer before us, hold out her sword, bow before the sensei, and teach her all the things that she has learned.
Konnichiwa, oganki desu. We're going to start by talking about Tatsu Yamashiro because in all of her origins, it is very much stressed that she is a, quote, average Japanese girl.
Okay, wait a minute. Hold on a second. She's an average Japanese girl, right?
She is.
Great. Then continue listening.
So I want you to imagine what traits you would think of for an average Japanese girl, and tell me if any of these origin story facts fall into that.
Well, I already can tell you that you're going to be way off because my view of an average Japanese girl, for some reason, is Sailor Moon.
There you go. Is that
average?
That is only in the 90s, really. Only in the 90s.
Got it. All right. Sorry.
So she had two parents who, as far as I could decipher, are unnamed, who encouraged her and her two brothers, Masao and Takeo, to train in the martial arts. So from a very young age, she trained in a bunch of different martial arts. By all accounts, they were a close family that loved each other very much.
Aww.
In fact, they loved each other so much that both of Tatsu's brothers asked her for her hand in marriage. So it's already weird.
This is weird.
Yeah.
That's too honorable. That's too honorable for me.
So Tatsu chose Masao, and Takeo, the rejected brother, quote, did not take this well, end quote.
May I ask a quick question?
Yes.
And if you do not know the answer, that's fine. Do you know which one's older or younger?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know if it's ever specified.
Okay, great. That's fine.
Because this is usually told in flashbacks at the beginning of her origin stories.
I was just okay. Let me throw this to you.
Yes.
As a woman, you're a woman, right?
I am a woman.
Great.
Last I checked.
All right, cool. Let's just say you were forced to marry your younger or older brother who both have equal skills in martial arts. Do you go younger or do you go older? What do you think? Where do you lean?
I go older because older probably means more of that protective side.
Okay.
Younger means probably the kid who like tried to put his boogers in your face, you know, and I'm not all about that.
I was just curious from a woman's perspective which way you would lean on that argument. Okay, so let's just say she went with the older brother.
Sure. She went with Masao.
Okay.
So Takeo refused to attend his siblings' weddings because he was so sad. And as a result, Masao disowned his brother, who in retaliation had joined the Yakuza and had taken on their mark of a large dragon tattoo across his chest. And this is your visual cue in all stories going forward for like the good brother doesn't have the large dragon tattoo on his chest. The bad brother does have the dragon tattoo.
And let's just specify, just in case there's anybody out there that doesn't know, Yakuza are the Japanese gangsters.
Mafia.
Yeah, that mafia, basically. Great word. That ride around the scooters and they wear suits. And sometimes domino mask if you're in a Quentin Tarantino movie.
If you are, yes, it's a good look. It's a good look. It goes with the theme.
That's who the Yakuza are.
Yes. So following the sudden death of their parents, Tatsu and Masao started a family of their own because that's a thing that you do.
I'm worried about the medical problems here.
With Tatsu giving birth to twins named Yuki and Reiko.
Okay.
And actually, fun fact, you have to inbreed for more than 3 generations before there's a lot of birth defects. I took Western European history, so... Students,
I expect to hear applause backwards through time of that fact. Ashley Robinson put so much work into this lesson that not only did she give you a lesson on the fictional character, but she just told you about genetics.
There you go. I put that high school science to good use.
Oh, Lord. Okay, so oh my God. So Katana's great-grandchildren would have the birth defects.
Yes.
If they
continued inbreeding. If they bred outside, they'd be fine.
Well, let's just say that there's probably a strong predilection to keep inbreeding. Let's just say
that maybe these kids don't live that long. So at the same time, the bad brother Takeo rose high in the ranks of the Yakuza, indulging in his, quote, exotic tastes, end quote, for ancient weapons.
Oh, yes.
So he kind of becomes their buyer of magical Japanese weapons.
I love the weapons.
Yes. And he He is presented with a pair of matching swords by a character named General Carnes, Karnz, who is later revealed to be a henchman of Baron Bedlam, who will show up again. One of which Takeo favored because it had more mystical properties than the other. Mystical swords are important, so remember this. He trained with this weapon for months and months before taking both swords to his siblings' residence and demanding that his brother duel him for the prize of Tatsu and her hand in marriage, even though she's already married.
Just let it go, man.
It's not... Oh, man. Men.
Your children must be mine!
Men. So, of course, they fight, and during the course of their fight through the house, a thing gets knocked over that's on fire, and the house catches on fire.
No.
And Takeo, of course, kills his brother Masao.
No.
Because Masao was trying to get the two kids, Yuki and Reiko, out of the home. They burn to death inside their home.
Of course they do.
Masao dies, and that is when they learn that this sword is a soul taker. As we mentioned earlier, with these properties, it absorbs their soul, and then you can have a conversation with that person and sometimes absorb their skills depending on who or who is not writing it. But that is the moment where it gets named the Soul Taker and those properties are made apparent.
Okay.
So, Tatsu...
Because the brother,
the bad brother killed the good brother.
Well, the bad brother sees the dead brother.
Yes.
Okay, got it.
Yeah. So Tatsu arose just in time to see her husband died, and she engaged her evil brother Takeo, gaining the upper hand on him and disarming him because she was a better fighter.
Good.
And while attempting to save her children, she hears her husband's voice coming from the sword, telling her that they are already lost.
Aww.
So she knows that she can talk to him, but not the children, because the sword did not strike down the children. They're lost forever.
Pretty
sure that's the wrong publisher.
But it's sad.
It is sad. Can you do some Batman music? Batman music is usually pretty sad.
Na 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 Batman. Katana. That's our theme right there.
So, having escaped where all of her immediate family has been murderized, Tetsu begins training as a samurai under a master called Tadashi, because now we're crossing over with Big Hero 6.
Yeah. As soon as you said that, I was like, what? Big Hero 6? What?
I know. I was like, oh man, he was so cute. So after a long time, it's an indeterminate period of time, but like with Batman's
my favorite
training,
periods of time. Indeterminate.
It's implicit that it's years and years and years.
Okay.
She graduated from his tutorship and left for America, like every good immigrant does, where she intended to use her talents to fight for justice. Because reasons. There's really no explanation.
She doesn't have the Soul Taker right now.
No, she does. Because she killed her evil...
My apologies.
She has the Soul Taker.
Okay.
She heard her husband speaking through
it. Yes. She killed your younger brother.
Maybe.
Oh, what?
Maybe. We'll see.
Okay.
So she takes on
she has a Soul Taker.
She has the Soul Taker sword.
Got it.
She takes on the codename Katana after the sword that she has wielded and possessed for some time that is imbued with the soul of her husband. And that's important because she'll talk to her husband inside the Soul Taker sword a lot. It gets weird and uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So if you've never seen Katana's classic outfit, it's mostly red and yellow like the rising sun emblem. It's a big Japanese design motif. It's on the flag. And I highly recommend checking it out because it's kind of a terrible design. And she looks like she's on fire, which I feel like is a step too far from what they were going with.
But she's always had that classic faceplate.
She has.
Yes.
She has.
Of the Japanese flag.
Yes. So now I'm going to tell you about how Katana joined the Outsiders. Yay! Na Outsiders.
No. Katana.
So
that's how you do that.
After coming to America, Tatsu kind of tooled around there.
Come to America.
And then she was like, this is great, but you know where else is great? Markovia, that tiny Baltic state that nobody's ever heard of. I'm going to go to Markovia. So she goes there.
All right.
Jason's expression is one of complete disbelief. She tracks down Carnes, the evil guy who gave the Soul Taker sword to her bad brother in the first place.
Yep.
She succeeds in killing him with the Soul Taker sword.
Good.
But because of the circumstances under which this takes place, she inadvertently implicates Black Lightning, who happened to be right there with Batman at the time, in her crime of murdering Carnes.
Oh, so she's in the Outsiders at this point.
Yes.
Okay, that was unclear.
Apologies. So, Jason, who is Black Lightning?
Black Lightning is a character called Jefferson Pierce. He has lightning powers, and in the future, he will become the Secretary of Education, I believe.
I think you're right, yeah.
For President Luther, yes, but he's an African-American gentleman with a really cool jacket.
A really cool costume.
Yep.
So she attempts to rectify this misunderstanding by freeing Black Lightning, who's been imprisoned because of that. And she encounters a young girl whose name is Halo. Halo is Gabrielle Doe, and she is a Gestalt warrior who will become a part of the Outsiders.
Got it.
So Katana joins up with Halo to rescue Black Lightning. They do that. Batman, who himself had been captured due to a blunder by Halo, and Bruce Wayne's employee Lucius Fox from their captor, Baron Bedlam. Baron Bedlam is the evil guy who had the Soul Taker sword in the first place and bled it all the way down to Katana. So during this time, Batman was in Markovia to rescue Lucius Fox, who had sought and failed to gain the help of the Justice League of America and had resigned his membership in the Justice League because he was so put out that they wouldn't help him.
Yeah, Batman.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And he was so inspired by the teamwork that he encountered between Black Lightning, Katana, Halo, Geoforce, who's Prince Brian, Brion.
Of Markovia.
And Metamorpho, who was also just happened to be around, that he decided to form the Outsiders. And this is how they all come together to become the team.
Mm-hmm. You know who Prince Brian's younger sister is?
No.
Tara of the new Teen Titans.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, that is so cool.
They're related. That's her older brother.
Oh, you're blowing my mind. Yep. That's amazing. Mm-hmm. I love Tara so much. So who and or what are the Outsiders? Well, I'm so glad that you
They're asked. A team that I use Batman. Batman right here. Yeah, they're a team that I use to fight outside the law, outside of justice, to be a cider.
To be a cider?
See,
sorry.
And a cider. Do I explain this to you? You're out and then a cider. You combine them.
I thought cider like apples.
I'm trying a new Batman voice. I'm not quite.
I like it.
Digging it.
I like it.
I don't know. Let's just go with this.
So initially, their actual mission statement, if they had a website and were a charity, would be that they're the team managed by Batman to end the Baron's tyranny in Markovia that eventually gets moved to Gotham City. So when they move to Gotham...
See, I said that.
There you go. Exactly.
Yeah, I did.
Freaking nailed it.
Yeah.
So when they returned to Gotham City, or when they moved to Gotham City in the first place, actually, they set up their headquarters in a former penthouse of Bruce Wayne's, who, of course, is secretly the Batman.
Of course. And they probably never question it.
Right. And Tatsu becomes Halo's guardian because they learn when they come back to America that she's actually like a teenager and she can't take care of herself.
Oh, she's that young.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
I mean, she's like 60. She's comic book 16, which means she looks like she's 26.
So she married her brother when she was like 10.
No. Tatsu becomes the guardian of Halo.
Oh.
Tatsu is like an adult.
I'm losing context on some of these things.
I apologize.
Okay.
And they move into Bruce Wayne's penthouse, and they hold down the fort. The rest of the Outsiders live in other places in Gotham. So during all this time, Takeo, the bad brother, has actually been at large.
What?
And had followed Tetsu to Gotham City. And secretly, he had switched swords with her and left for Tokyo. And the Outsiders eventually figure it out, and they chase him to Tokyo because they really like to take the Outsiders and put them not in North America, except that's where they're based, so it's super weird.
So they can go outside.
I get it.
Get it?
I get it.
Because they're outsiders.
I get it, but it just seems like a lot of like fueling up of Bruce Wayne's plane and flying for 18 hours to Tokyo and just looking for the sword.
Batman's got to get his jolly somehow. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. So evil brother Takeo took the sword to his master, who was a godfather inside the Yakuza, known only as Oyabun. Oyabun. Mm-hmm. That's my assumed pronunciation. I don't actually know how to say that word.
Great.
So when he rings the sword there, they perform this very specific ritual. Oyabun and Takeo manage to recall the souls that had all inhabited the sword and proceed to force them into corporeal form. So everyone who's ever been slaughtered by the sword is now sort of a zombie.
Yeah, I was going to say they're going to make a zombie army, aren't they?
Yes.
Okay.
So among these returned souls are legendary mercenaries and assassins, but of course also Maseo, the good brother, the husband, who is now a slave to Oyaban, the bad Yakuza guy.
No!
So Katana, which is what we will call her for the rest of the lesson, and the outsiders go there, they fight all of them, and they are ultimately able to reclaim the Soul Taker sword. So
Good.
they kill everybody again. And the thing about reclaiming the Soul Taker sword is you actually, like I said, you have to kill everybody again. There's a really powerful scene where Katana.
You're calling her Katana now.
Katana is forced to kill her husband, and she is also forced to kill Takeo, the bad brother, and finally put some of her ghosts to rest.
Literally. Although it is a little bit of a reverse Clone Saga they just did, where there was like, oh yeah, you thought you had the Soul Taker? Well, you didn't.
Yes.
You know.
And when you kill all of them, you basically undo the ritual that had been done. And that means that even though you're killing them all, they go back into the sword.
Yeah.
So you can still talk to them, but they just don't get to walk around anymore. So having to lay her husband's soul to rest is one of the hardest things that Katana ever had to do. And if you want to keep Professor Jason and me from having to put our husbands to rest, you can head on over to patreon.com/Jawin, JAWIIN, and show Geek History Lesson some support.
Yeah, because I don't want to kill my husband.
It would be really tough on you. You're very emotional.
Yeah, Tom is a good guy.
He's a good guy. For $3, you can get Geek History Lesson a day early, and for $5, you get the Patreon exclusive Geek History Lesson Extra podcast, where this week we are going to talk about our favorite versions of Katana.
And there's also a new reward level on there at the $10 level, which you get to watch episodes of Jason Talks More, our new supplementary videos in the YouTube channel, 2 weeks early.
What?
Yeah.
2 whole weeks?
Yeah, because we have a new show over there called Jason Talks Geek, which is like Geek History Lesson, except we talk about stuff in the news.
Nice.
Yeah.
So back to Katana. So eventually the outsiders split from Batman's leadership. It's this thing. And they take up residence in Markovia because they were like, you know what? This is where we all met. This is a pretty good place to hang
We like the
out.
mountains.
And they wind up being funded by the Markovian crown. But at this time, Geoforce is the prince of the royal family. He's kind of in charge. So he's basically just funneling country funds away into the outsiders, which seems irresponsible. But when you think about it, it's really not that bad.
What you don't know is that the Markovian economy at this time was crashing, and they couldn't figure it out.
Well, those iron mines weren't what they used
They're
to
like,
be.
you think it's these vigilantes? No.
No. And then you never wake up again.
Yep.
They become the official agents of Markovia, and it doesn't work out so well. So they move back to the city of Los Angeles, where they make their headquarters at the Markovian embassy, because they're like, we like being funded by Markovia, but we don't want to like live here.
The Markovians are like crack cocaine to the outsiders.
Yeah, totally.
We can't have enough of Markovia.
So, and their base in Los Angeles is actually a secret headquarters just off the shore. So they're on like Catalina Island, just hanging out.
So, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's super weird.
Or something like Catalina.
It's something like It's not actually Catalina
Yeah.
Island, but Catalina Island's a beautiful island, so it's a funny joke.
Yeah.
Not funny if you have to explain it, Harley.
No.
Although Tatsu had left her husband in the past, Oyaban, the bad Yakuza guy, returned to her life and sent a Tengu after her, with which he captured her. So she's captured by bad Yakuza guy. Her teammates on the Outsiders, mostly Halo and Looker at the time, were able to save her using other Tengu and the Tengu leader who aided them in battle. So everything wound up being okay. She got rescued.
Okay.
After a while, the team disbanded after various tragic events surrounding Geoforce's parents and Markovia. Basically, Markovia falls. The royal family gets all kind of Romanov.
Because he spent all the money on the outsiders.
I guess. And they're like, you're kind of just like ineffectually living in LA.
How about feeding the people, Prince? Nah, I need to get Katana a new mask.
Nah, like, Tara she ran off and we never recovered.
Yep.
Never recovered. So nonetheless, the outsiders were forced to defend Markovia against the Manhunters when they attacked.
The Manhunters.
But during their seminal battle with the Manhunters, Halo was knocked into a coma, saving Katana's life.
Oh, Halo.
And bounded by Giri Ninjo, which is a debt of honor even unto death, Tatsu left the team so that she could tend to Halo's wounds. So this is kind of the leaning into the Japanese mysticism and spirituality of it all, which
Got it.
depending on who is writing Katana, sometimes she's like super Japanese and sometimes she's super North American.
Got it.
So right now she's super Japanese. So during this time, she's approached by a family member of her husband, so also her family member.
Yeah, also her family member. Yep.
Right. Who wished her to accompany the Suicide Squad on a mission to destroy a large horde of weapons that were about to be sold by the Yakuza.
How dare them.
So this is her first brush with the Suicide Squad, and you're going to learn through the rest of this lesson that she doesn't have that many more.
Okay.
But she declines on the basis of her Giri Ninja because she's looking after Halo, although she was willing to help if the need was truly desperate. So she's like, only if you really need me will I come with my sword and help out.
Got it.
So this family member is later killed, and she, in the dead of honor, went after the killer. And it wound up that it was Oyaban, bad Yakuza guy.
That guy again.
Yes. And that she did not wish to see the weapons destroyed, and that was why she tried to stop the Suicide Squad, because she's like, I just want to kill this guy, but like the weapons can stay, it'll be fine. So during that adventure, she saved the life of Bronze Tiger and Manhunter, Mark Shaw Manhunter, making them honor bound to her by Giri Ninja. So now Bronze Tiger and Manhunter owe her a debt of honor unto their deaths. So this is how a team gets formed. Mark Shaw then assisted her in taking down Oyaban, and then Oyaban committed ritual suicide, and Katana stood by as his second, ready to help with the blade strike so that he could keep his honor. So it's basically like, if you are going to commit harikari and you wuss out, then they'll kill you anyway, so that you can still die honorably.
Oh, that's good of them.
Right. It's good of Katana to do this for this person that she hates for so long. Yeah. So now more about the Outsiders.
All right. Back to the Outsiders.
Back to the Outsiders. Eventually, the Outsiders reform and return to Markovia.
Yeah.
And
wait, no. Well, again... Come on, guys.
Yeah. Well, Markovia is this cool place, right?
No, not really.
So instead of a peaceful reunion, however, the team becomes trapped in a web of public relations nightmares that brands them as outlaws. So basically, everybody
fits in with the name.
Everybody thinks they're evil. Although the charges are eventually dropped, the team is fractured. Halo dies from an assassin's blast, but is reborn into a new body.
Oh, good.
Which was an immense strain on Tatsu's relationship with her. And Halo is kind of her best friend at this time and surrogate daughter. It's really kind of dumb. Katana joins a team with Geoforce and Technocrat, who's Jeffrey Barron, basically wearing an Iron Man suit, taking the lead. She develops a mild romantic relationship with Joey Hong, who's the Asian associate of Guy Gardner's, if anyone is a fan of the Guy Gardner run. During a solo mission, Tadashi, her old mentor, sends Lady Shiva to claim Katana's Soul Taker sword.
Oh, no.
Lady Shiva, of course, is the really cool assassin who is also Cassandra Cain's mother. Shiva confronts Katana, who has been battling a gang of drug dealers. Katana had slain many of them, but refuses to kill the youngest member, something that Lady Shiva insults her for, and she calls her a coward. And Lady Shiva, being a world-renowned as the world's greatest assassin and fighter, was able to kill Katana with her own sword and complete her mission of taking the Soul Taker sword.
Oh, no, Katana.
I know, and that's the end of your lesson on Katana. Thanks for coming by.
Na Katana.
Just kidding, because it's comics.
Na Katana.
Exactly. So Katana returns to life after a trial by combat within her sword, which includes confronting many of the swords of the people that she had killed. Afterward, she manages to find her old mentor and take his life. So while she's inside the sword, her soul self beats the crap out of everybody else in the sword.
Okay.
So she gets to come back to life.
Because of that, she gets to come back to life.
Yes.
Because of reasons.
Because of comics.
Okay.
She gets the sword back from Lady Shiva, who had previously murdered her.
All right.
And then goes and kills Tadashi from Big Hero 6.
Just cause?
Well, because he sent Lady Shiva to kill her in the first place. It's that revenge thing, that honor thing.
All right.
But also because she's died, her oath to look after Halo has been absolved. And then the two people who owe her an honor oath, their debts are resolved as well. So this kind of basically happened to make Katana a free agent again, so that we don't have to tie into as much continuity in the past.
I think there are easier ways to do that in the writing than just killing the character, but I'm just saying.
I'm going to respectfully disagree.
You could just have these characters just be like, nah, we're good.
Yes. So the Outsiders, following Katana's return to them, splinter and eventually reunite to take on more supernatural threats focused around the new member, Sebastian Faust. And this is one of the times when you really get to see the Soul Taker sword be really magical, because depending on who is writing Katana, like I said before with the Japanese of it all, sometimes the Soul Taker sword is really, really magical. Sometimes it's just kind of a cool sword.
Yeah, sometimes it's just a green sword.
It's weird. So Katana and her friends suffer through the mental and physical tortures that Faust's father, Felix Faust, puts them through. And
he's basically a magician villain in the DC universe who has a weird... He usually dresses in purple.
Yes. So Halo, who has come back to life, eventually frees them all from Felix Faust's control by destroying several of Felix Faust's items of power. So basically, she destroys all of his Horcruxes, and then he's weakened. Soon after, they disband.
Oh, again?
Again. After disbanding, Tetsu keeps up her association with her old allies in the Outsiders, like Black Lightning, Geoforce, and Halo. And although they do not operate as an official team, they're always seen alongside each other during the major crises of the DC universe. They'll make them all kind of stand together.
Oh, okay.
Which I guess is cool. If you're an outsider person, it's probably really cool.
Yeah.
So her close ties to Batman also see her fighting by his side several times, notably during the Imperiex crisis.
Imperiex.
Jason, who's Imperiex?
Imperiex is this giant godlike being who kind of looks like a Roman soldier with a giant, a
centurion.
A centurion. He is this super powerful cosmic character that's been around since the beginning of time, who thinks there's something wrong with the universe, and he's going to restart the universe to fix it. And he's a Superman villain. And the end of that story, Our World's at War, which I assume you're going to talk about, is that Imperiex finds out that the thing that's wrong in the universe is him.
Yes.
Because Superman sends him back to the Big Bang and makes him part of the original DNA of the universe.
Yes. I'm actually going to jump to the Day of Judgment.
Oh, we're skipping right past Our World's at War. Okay.
Yeah, we are. Katana's really not a big part of it.
Oh, cool. She teamed up with Batman.
She did. So Katana next really appears in Day of Judgment, which is a Jeff Johns story, where basically the way that ends is that Hell invades Earth and Hal Jordan becomes the Spectre.
Yep, that's all you need to know.
So, but the main battle against the villain, the rogue angel Asmodel, with the power of the Spectre, takes place in New York City, and Katana personally protects Madame Xanadu, who's guarding the rest of Asmodel's powers with a mystical shield. Katana's protection of Xanadu is assisted by Dr. Occult, Phantom Stranger, and Alan Scott Green Lantern.
Or at this time would have been called, I think, Sentinel.
Yes, I believe so. Later, Katana assists Batman when he and Superman are declared outlaws. Oh, no. And Katana is also called upon by Black Canary, together with other female mercenaries, in order to rescue Oracle from Senator Pullman. Because this is around the time that she's sort of parts of the Bird of Prey, but not really officially. But she's like a girl associated with Batman, so we can make her do stuff with them.
Yep.
So after Oracle is saved, Katana received a card, together with the promise of a favor if required. Katana later returns to assist Oracle in issue 108 of Birds of Prey alongside dozens of other agents, and that's kind of a cool thing. So during this time with the Outsiders, Katana has her yellow and brown pseudo samurai suit that's really reminiscent of Wolverine's yellow and brown suit. And they take down a character called Sabak, S-A-B-B-A-C,
Thanks, Sabak.
Sabak. And the team, the Outsiders at this time, they reformed to fight Sabak. The team consisted of all new members with the exception of Metamorpho, who had rejoined after a character named Shift's demise. And in Outsiders number 42, Katana dons this same new costume that we were just talking about. And it's supposed to be based upon, again, the Japanese flag and the idea of the sunrise. But she's not wearing her mask in this issue because she felt like it was controversial.
And it's the start of Batman and the Outsiders.
Yes, Batman.
The new series after Nightwing's Outsiders.
Yes.
Okay.
Later, Katana summons Sabak to destroy Dr. Sivana's base with his Hellfire powers. Katana remains an active member of the Outsiders following the 1 year later continuity jump. Jason, what's 1 year later?
Well, that's what I was just talking about. This is the Batman and the Outsiders run.
Oh, sorry.
That was before before, because the 1 year later jump is after Infinite Crisis, where they jumped all the DC books ahead.
Right, because initially the team is led by Nightwing, but his leadership transfers back to Batman. And Batman, during this time, decides to test Katana and the rest of the initial team in order to design a better team. And he doesn't recruit all of the same team members again, but Katana is Batman's first official recruit. Mm-hmm. So she's the one who most lives up to his standards. So I think it's kind of cool.
There's a bunch of one-shots, and he kind of pits the team members against each other. And there's a one-shot with Nightwing and Captain Boomerang at the time. Captain Boomerang was the son. Mm-hmm. And Nightwing, in the mission, realizes that it's Batman testing them.
Yes.
And he just leaves. And he's like, I'm done.
Yeah, he's like, F this noise, I'm out. Mm-hmm. So now we're going to talk a little bit about Blackest Night. So while escorting Killer Croc to incarcerations, the Outsiders' vehicles is demolished by Maseo, Yuki, and Reiko. Maseo is the husband, Yuki and Reiko are the children.
And they're brought back as Black Lanterns, which is the black rings that resurrect people like zombies, basically.
Yes.
Yeah.
Katana, believing that she had been reunited with her lost family, lets her guard down, of course, like one would, but is ultimately saved from death by her teammates. They grab her and run away.
Yay.
Realizing the truth, she draws her sword and prepares to fight her undead husband. When she stabs Maseo, the Soul Taker reveals to her that the Black Lantern's full intentions, what their plans are, and her attacks soon prove to be completely ineffectual against Maseo, who instead is destroyed by an outpouring of light from Halo, who also destroys Katana's undead children, further straining their already incredibly strained relationship.
I don't like this Halo.
Yeah, Halo is an interesting character in reference to Katana. She kind of wavers back and forth on whether she's useful or not. The events of Flashpoint eventually lead to the reboot of the DC Universe, known as the New 52. So in this rebooted continuity, a newly healed Barbara Gordon returns as Batgirl. You can listen to our Barbara Gordon episode for more on that. And she takes a leave of absence from the Birds of Prey for reasons. And she suggests that Katana take her place on the team full time. So Katana joins Black Canary and Starling as the third member of the Birds of Prey.
Interesting, the New 52 Birds of Prey.
The New 52 Birds of Prey. This is one of her big team-ups in the New 52. Like I said earlier, she's always been like a tacit member of the Birds of Prey, and for lack of a better word, an outside member of the Birds of Prey, but now she's officially on the team because Batgirl's off being Batgirl again and not being Oracle anymore.
Nice.
So Katana in the New 52 is described as a lethal fighter who has spent the last year waging a war on the Yakuza clan that was responsible for the death of her husband. She's rumored to be mentally unstable due to her belief that her husband's soul, that she often converses with Japanese, resides inside her sword. So everybody thinks that she's crazy because
and nobody believes the Soul Taker's real.
Right.
Got it.
And it is very much left up to your interpretation as the reader whether or not that's true.
I like that.
Until the Katana standalone series.
I could see the future movie doing something like that.
Especially, well, because Suicide Squad is about a lot of characters that are unstable. So that would be a really interesting way to take it. So she has a bunch of adventures with the Birds of Prey, but Katana eventually leaves the group in order to keep an eye on a cult group of assassins known as the Daggers.
Okay.
She later accepts membership into Amanda Waller's new Justice League of America in exchange for information about her husband's murderers.
And that was a team that Amanda Waller designed to basically fight in the New 52, Superman and Batman, the 7 core members, which is called Justice League.
Yes.
They were tied to no government, and Amanda Waller built a team to take them down.
Yes, called Justice League of America.
Yep.
So when DC launched Justice League of America, they also launched the solo series Katana, which focused on Tetsu's abiding mission to track down her husband's killer. This series only lasted for 10 issues, and you can find them all collected if you so like to go and seek them out. After this, Katana made an appearance in Green Arrow at number 27.
Yes.
Where she's told by the mysterious blind man Magus that the death of her husband relates to the Outsiders, the society formed of various weapons clans connected to Green Arrow's new origin story, as set down by Jeff Lemire.
Yeah, this is where you found out that there were a whole bunch of weapon clans in the DC Universe. The Arrow clan is what Green Arrow belonged to, and you found out that she was part of the Sword clan.
And Soul Takers worked in the Green Arrow mythology as the totem of the Sword clan. So it is the strongest sword within the Sword clan,
which I really like.
Which has parallels in the Fist Fist, Mask, Shield, Axe, Arrow, and Spear clans. Representatives of each of these clans make up the Outsiders, the secret society dedicated towards ending global corruption, although it is in and of itself largely corrupt. She joins the Outsiders in Green Arrow Futures End #1, which is set 5 years later in one possible future that I don't think exists anymore.
No, and we mostly forget about.
Yeah. So Tetsu is shown to still be a member of the Outsiders, which has developed a grudging relationship with Green Arrow, who rejected leadership of the Arrow clan in the main Green Arrow series 5 years before that. And that is where we are up to with her in current DC continuity.
Nice.
So that is Katana.
Except she will be appearing in the Suicide Squad Rebirth title, written by Rob Williams and drawn by Jim Lee, that has not come out yet at the time of this recording.
Right. And we also don't like to talk about ongoing series as much as possible. So
well, we don't like future things we don't know
yes,
about.
Yes.
But
so,
she is a member of that team.
Yes. So hooray.
Great.
So she's not forgotten.
Great. So that's where she is in comics. Where is she in some other medias?
So in other media, I'm so happy that you asked. What a great segue. Karen Fukuhara will be portraying Katana in the upcoming Suicide Squad movie, where she will be a member of the Suicide Squad.
Directed and written by David Ayer.
That is true. Ryla Fukushima played Katana on Arrow. She features heavily in the 3rd season.
And she shows up like once in the 4th season too.
Yes, she does. She is one of the only characters that goes from the flashback to the modern day. There's only a couple characters that do that, and basically her and Oliver meet up. They try to offset a biological weapon. They fail, and then they meet up again in the future, and she has some tea that will save you from any poisons or any stabby.
Well, yeah, basically if you fall off a cliff and you're stabbed by Ra's al Ghul like 7 times, you drink this tea by Katana, and boy, you're going to feel real good pretty quick.
Yes, and Katana has appeared in a ton of DC animated features and TV shows, including Superman, Batman, Public Enemies, Justice League Crisis on 2 Earths, Batman the Brave and the Bold, where she's kind of a little schoolgirl. It's a really great appearance.
I'm fine with it.
Beware
she's part of the Outsiders.
Yes.
Yeah. With Jefferson Pierce, Black Lightning, they basically formed the Outsiders in that show, which I think is so cool.
But she's super cutesy in it.
Fine with that.
No, I have no problem with it.
Listen, we just learned that in her origin, she had kids when she was like 10.
I know, it's weird. Like I said earlier, in Beware the Batman, she is the Robin. She is Batman's protege of that. That's a really, really great TV show if you want more Katana
they got
in
canceled
your
way
life.
Before its time.
Yeah, and it looks really good. And she is a fixture of DC Superhero Girls. In DC Superhero Girls, she is one of Wendy's friends. Her character trait is that she is very precise and methodical in all aspects of her life, and anything that you need cut, she will do for you. And I'm so excited to get that doll.
Even bread?
Even bread. She is the coolest thing since sliced bread.
Wow.
So there.
And she'll slice that.
Yes, you will. So why don't we move right on to recommended reading?
Recommended reading is where we're going to tell you some recommendations of stuff that you can read if you want to experience more of Katana outside of this podcast, because the main lesson is over, and you can go find all of these things that we tell you about at geekhistorylesson.com/recommended reading. We're going to have the little Amazon widgets down there. You can see them. You click on them, take you to Amazon, you buy that book, you enjoy some Katana, and guess what? A little piece of your purchase comes back to the Mind University, helps us keep this podcast going to 120 episodes and beyond.
Helps us keep our swords sharp.
And our souls not taken.
Yes, so I have 3 recommendations for our recommended
30
reading.
or 3? I was a little confused.
3.
Sounded like you said 30 for a second there.
1, 2, 3.
I was like, holy God, that's a lot of Katana.
All right, so we're going to start right now. I'm going to recommend Batman and the Outsiders, The Chrysalis. This is a Chuck Dixon deal. If you know from past lessons, we really like him. This is one of my favorite Batman and the Outsiders stories that I looked at for this lesson, and it is very easily available. I'm also going to recommend Birds of Prey Volume 1, Trouble in the Mind, which is the first volume from the New 52. You get to see Katana be a part of an all-female team full of really cool ladies, and you get to see her trying to live up to Barbara's memory, which is difficult to do, to say the least. And then I'm also going to recommend Wonder Woman at Superhero High, the prose novel that ties into the DC Superhero Girls by Lisa Yee, because you get to see a softer version of Katana, but no less compelling. So those are my 3 recommended readings for this one.
Cool. All right, what else you got for us?
I got some discussions. So I wanted to postulate to you because Katana has only had one solo series in her 30-some years of existence.
And it was the New 52.
And it was the New 52.
Yep.
And I want to ask you, do you think that Katana deserves a solo series? Do you think there's enough there to mine that she deserves a standalone book?
I don't know if there's enough there to mine. I think that's not... That doesn't apply to Katana. I think that Katana has enough potential that she should have a solo series. Now, also, I don't know if Katana can handle a solo series all as well. I kind of think that Katana is sort of like what we've talked about in previous podcasts, like Scarlet Witch. A great supporting character, but not a lead character. Because for me, every time I think about Katana, I think The Outsiders.
Yes.
And I think that there should always be an Outsiders book. There should always just be a book called The Outsiders at DC, and it's like the anti-Justice League, and Katana's like number 2.
Would you fold that into the Batman family of books, or would you set it in opposition to whatever the main Justice League title is at the time?
Outsiders is always a Batman book.
Would you always have Batman lead it, or are you okay with Nightwing being in charge?
I'm okay with Nightwing leading it because I thought the series that they had that Judd Winnick wrote, where Nightwing was the leader of the team, is actually a really fun series to read. If you've never read that, they're all collected in trade. They're a lot of fun. Now, Katana doesn't show up till later.
Yeah.
But I love that run. It's really good. And then I like the other run with Batman and the Outsiders. But the Outsiders, all the Outsiders, are Batman characters. Jefferson Pierce, Batman character. Like the Outsiders are Batman's strike team. That's what they are. And to me, Katana, by first showing up in The Outsiders, or she's on Brave and Bold, but mainly being remembered for The Outsiders, makes her a Batman character to me.
Would you be okay with teaming her up with someone? I said this to you earlier that I would team her up with Cassandra Cain, who is currently orphan in the DCU, because I think that they are two Asian characters. They're two very powerful fighters. And if you wanted to lean hard into both of those things, they could be a really interesting assassin squad for Batman.
Yeah. I think that's a fine move. I also think she's going to be a great member of the Suicide Squad. I think she's a great character to put in the movie.
Do you think she's better with focusing on her as an anti-hero than as a heroine?
Yes, because she's a killer.
She is. She is, and she's unremorseful.
Yes,
in that. Because she kills for honor and she kills for family.
And I know that there's a lot of people out there going to be like, well, Batman and Superman kill in the movie universe.
Every superhero kills.
Every superhero kills in all their movies, but Katana is more explicitly a killer.
Yes.
I mean, her weapon is a sword.
A soul taker sword.
It's called a soul taker. Like, if that's not about death, then I don't know what it is.
Yes. I think it would be interesting if you see her set up in opposition to Harley. I think that could be very cool.
She won't have any part of Harley's bullshit.
No, but I think that's what could be so interesting about that. But we will definitely be talking more about that in the Geek History Lesson Extra.
Yeah.
So you can hop right over there to check that out if you want more Suicide Squad movie talk. Do you have anything else you want to talk about for discussion? If not, I got a teaching tweet for you.
No, I'm all good. Let's move on into the teaching tweet, where our professor will take everything we learned about this lesson and boil it down to 140 characters. So you can tweet it later on Twitter if you so please. All right, Ashley, let's hear that teaching tweet. Ready, set, Katana, go.
Katana. She's so cool. The Sword Taker sword is so cool. Why doesn't she have a cool solo series? Frowny face.
Can I make a slight correction to your tweet?
You can make a suggestion.
Did you mean to say Soul Taker sword?
Yeah.
Okay, I thought you said Sword Taker sword. Did I mishear?
I don't know.
I think I don't know. Listeners, roll back the tape that doesn't exist, and let me know. Did she say Sword Taker? I thought you said Sword Taker.
I thought I said Soul Taker.
I don't know.
It says Soul Taker. I don't know.
You were texting this into your phone just now. I think you mistyped.
I don't think so. I've been doing the dictation thing lately, and it's pretty spot on.
All right, if you say so. All right, so that is all we have to learn, Professor Ashley, about Katana, right?
That is it. That is the katana-ness of the katanas.
Thank God nobody lost their souls. All right.
Well.
All right, guys. That'll be it for this Katana episode of Geek History Lesson. Do not forget that you can download and subscribe for this podcast at iTunes, Stitcher, and SoundCloud. And guys, we're trying to do this thing where we're trying to get our reviews up on iTunes, all right? That's how iTunes uses its search algorithms so other people can find the podcast like you. And so we're going back through our reviews and we're going to read some of them, because if you leave us a review on iTunes, we might read your review on an episode, like this said review that Ashley has right now.
All right, the title of this is Came for the Comics, Stayed for the Bane Impression by Mac47 Shelby. And Mac47 Shelby said, Jason and Ashley are some of the most knowledgeable people I've come to find in a podcast. Aww. You can tell they really love what they do, as well as throw in a good laugh every now and then. I can honestly say they've gotten me even more interested in comics. Plus, the West Coast Avengers theme is super addicting. Dun dun dun.
Mac47 Shelby. Thank you for your review. That's all I have. Bane is dead here. Ashley's laughing a lot. She can't control her laughter.
All right, that's it for Bane. All right, thank you so much for that review, Mac47 Shelby. You're awesome, and so we need all of you to run over to iTunes, just like Mac47 Shelby, and leave us some reviews, and we'll read them on the show. Don't forget, all as well, you can suggest other members of the Suicide Squad, because there's a whole bunch of them. And we got a ways for that movie till that movie comes out. There are other members of the Suicide Squad. You can suggest them on social media to us. Where, Ashley?
Well, you can go to geekhistorylesson.com or facebook.com/geekhistorylesson. There are many ways to communicate with us on both platforms.
Yes, and you can complain to us on Twitter about our Katana theme song. For me, at Jawin, Jawiin, and for Ashley, at Ashley V. Robinson. And guys, I want to tell you real quick, we started a show called Jason Talks Geek.
Yes.
Over at youtube.com/Jawin. Ashley's been on, she's there. There are other guests. Us talking about the news, geeky things, and sparking conversations out of that. Please go over there and check that out, because we think it's a pretty good show and we think it's a lot of fun. And it's if you like Geek History Lesson, I think you're going to like Jason Talks Geek, and soon to be an audio podcast as well. Ooh. All right, guys, that is it for this podcast. I'm Jason, not Japanese Inman.
I am Ashley Victoria Robinson.
And Professor Ashley Robinson, please, will you end the soul of this podcast? Just for this episode, not for the whole thing.
Oh, well, class is dismissed, and take your souls with you, I guess.